Well, we've talked about our founders, Edmund and Glasna, as film festival creators, film fans, fanatics, but you also probably know that they're filmmakers too. And they've been working on this film for a while now, and we heard about it last year. And we wanted to know a little bit more about what's going on. So I asked, and then I asked again, and I got on my knees and I asked again, can we see a little clip? So, no, one more. There you go. The movie is called Precious Metal, and it's coming out soon. It says 2014, so you've only got a couple more months. All right. But we were lucky enough to have a tiny little clip you'll enjoy. Beautiful imagery there, guys. You did a great job. The executive producer of Precious Metal, Leonard Brink.
Actually, I'm really flattered to be invited to talk about the film. 2 years ago, I submitted a humble, personal documentary about my experiences in Vietnam, and the focus of the documentary was found footage of a combat patrol that I was on in May of 1970. And a friend of mine told me about the footage. It was filmed by a German TV station because by a weird coincidence, our company commander was in the German army. He was forced in out of high school in 1945. And make a long story short, he came to the States, he went to college, got a ROTC scholarship, and ended up as our infantry commander in Vietnam. And so I made this film and showed up hat in hand at NIF with Edmund to say, might it be eligible for the film festival? And it was nominated also for Best Documentary. And it launched my career at the age of 68. At that time, I could barely spell feature film, much less have the temerity to think that I might be standing here 2 years later and helped in. And really, with Edmund and I, it's been a very intense, collaborative experience. He trusts me not only to help fund the movie, but they have a significant creative influence in the film. And I did not do this as some esoteric retirement fantasy. It was a good script, and it got me passionate, it got me excited, it got me motivated that I think we can do this. But the statistics, the metrics for indie films is pretty scary. 97% of indie films do not make money for their investors. They may break even, a lot of them, but there's a high mortality rate. Only 3% have had demonstrated success. So that scared away most of our investors because our attorney had to tell them, let me get this straight. Leonard Brink has never made a feature film in his entire life. He's never produced a film. He's never written a screenplay before. And he wants you to invest $500,000 in a film. And two of them said, okay. So we did get two investors, which is really interesting. But what we focus on is not the 97% that failed. I mean, I started a software company 20 years ago and I couldn't spell computer. But I knew what was needed to create the system designed to workflow and automate patient records in a hospital from pre-admission right on through discharge, and that's what we did. And 2 years later, we came out with a product that sold incredibly well. Enabled me to be here today to be talking about precious metal. We focused on the 3% that succeeded. I wanted to find out who were they? What did they do? How did they do it? What was special? What was different? Naturally, I had to also expedite my learning curve. If I was going to be involved creatively, I had to learn the industry. So I took courses on film production, on film marketing, on distribution to help write the shooting script. I took a course on crime scene management so that we would have an authentic crime scene in the film. Then we hired a CSI consultant to critique it for authenticity. And we believe that everything should be authentic because that's a credit to the people who are in that industry. When a CSI happens to see the film, we want them to say, hey, yeah, that's how it's done. That's really good. It's a measure of respect to the people who are in the industry. We decided to pursue a higher vision for the film, and this is what Edmund asked me to really present to you, and I'll make this short. You had to have a higher level vision if we were going to make this work. We isolated 8 factors that contributed to the success of indie films, and I'd just like to hit these as quick talking points with you. Most of you, especially like John Burgess, most of you have forgotten more about films than I'll ever learn in my lifetime. But I did learn enough to know what works and what doesn't, and it doesn't work, and I just want to share that with you. One thing is to have the passion and enthusiasm. Once you latch onto a project, if you don't believe in it, if you don't have complete passion for it, if you don't have complete enthusiasm for it, you will not convince investors or distributors or other people. And I'll come back to that point a little bit later. What's really crucial, and a lot of young filmmakers don't think about it, you have to pay close attention to the business as well as the creative end of the film. You really need to know what is the market niche you're going for. We had one market niche initially for this film, and it's mostly middle-aged adults. But 2 weeks before filming, we rewrote the script. We took a character out who was the wife of a crime victim, an elderly woman who was a nurse. And we rewrote that entire script and we recast it. We got a wonderful actress by the name of Malia Mitchell. So we could have a younger person. So we had a daughter who was the nurse in the film. And that added, and as you'll see if you see the film, it enabled us to really expand into more of a bimodal market niche for the film. What we also learned is that you have to really pay very close attention to the business planning and the entire business creative arc, if you will, for how you're going to present the movie. We respected the formula-driven business models for film production and distribution and marketing, but you have to step out of the box. And we're going to do something in marketing precious metals that's never been done in a film before. It will attract some interest, it will attract some notoriety. We think it'll work, but it's a fresh, different approach for marketing. It comes out of my 45 years in business and not out of the traditional formula approach for marketing feature films. We also believe, we've had a slogan in my company for years, there are no experts. I've been in business almost 50 years, I've not met an expert yet. I don't care what field they're in, what endeavor they're in. But there are a lot of people with expertise. And we would do well to find those people, attach ourselves to them, learn from them, and share what you've learned. And we did that. The collaborative DNA. We have these people right in this room with us. In fact, John, some of your crew for your film, One Small Hitch, were crew on our film. Joshua Schilling and Stephanie Rapiola. We got good people to work with us. You know, we have Kayleen Waters, our post-production supervisor, sitting right here, who's been fantastic. So by stepping out of the box and by believing there are no experts, we still reached out to get a lot of help from people We brought in consultants. We had a psychiatric consultant, because the scene you just saw involves Fiona Dorriff, who is Brad Dourif's daughter, and she pretty much stole the film. I really strongly believe she could be considered for a Supporting Actress award. The film is so powerful, and I learned that through editing. But we got good people. We got a good cast. We also reached out to Lisa Gerard, the music in that piece of the heroin fixing. I don't know if you're familiar with Lisa Gerard, but she won the Golden Globe Award a few years back, working with Hans Zimmer for the score and soundtrack to Gladiator. And she also did the theme song, Now We Are Free. People thought, and including our producer, thought I was absolutely crazy. How did you find her? How did she even talk to you? Well, we reached out to her, first by email, then I called her in Australia and talked about the film. It was the passion, the enthusiasm, it reached out to her, it connected with her. She graciously reduced her fees by about 70%, but we still couldn't afford it to do the score and soundtrack. But she also wanted to be part of the project. She wanted her name on this film. She felt it was an excellent film. So she gave us royalty rights to her song, The Sea Whisperer, which is the background music for this scene. We also got a great editor, film editor, Rebecca Stocker, who did 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, Pearl Harbor, the Mummy movies. In fact, she's working on Ninja Turtles, I think, a sequence to that. And she was wonderful to work with. And finally, we got an Emmy Award winning musician, Misha Siegel, who helped us with the score and soundtrack. Now, I mentioned about stepping out of the box. We're going to do something with the music for this film that's never been done in a tough, gritty, R-rated movie. The lead vocalist in the film is going to be a 14-year-old girl. And we wrote the lyrics for her and the chants that she has in segments of the music to be much like a window character to Judy, Fiona Dorriff. She's the lost, the inner child, the lost child, the innocent child. And this hasn't been attempted before. Now that may not make people come and buy a ticket to see Precious Metal, but when you hear that first chant and you see what this young girl did, I created a term for evaluating the music when we worked with Misha. We called it the GB factor. It had to have a goosebump level. What was the GB for that segment? And we wanted at least a minimum GB of 5 or above. And we felt that played out through the music. So it's a different approach. It's a way to step out of the box, because what you really have to do is to make your movie stand out as something separate. I really am impressed with the work you guys did, John, because you took, every story that could be told in film has probably been told 1,000 times. So the intent is to creatively take a story that may have been told 1,000 times, but tell it a little bit differently. Make it, and what you did, John, with One Small Hitch is an embodiment of that. It's a typical love story, but it has a twist, and it was built, and it adds suspense to it. It adds motivation. It kept you interested. We kept waiting. How is this going to turn out? Are they going to really explain what's happening, or is it going to play out? Will they really get married? And so to have a movie that can really take that from beginning to end is what movie making is all about. So I hope you'll have a chance to see Precious Metal, and I think you'll really feel proud. It's filmed here in Naperville and Aurora. I personally put about 2,000 hours of homework and about 2,000 hours into the film, and I really respect Edmund for allowing me to have as much creative involvement. Also, I was the location scout for the film, to even help with that. Thank you very much.
Our friend Leonard, the late bloomer. The lady that you saw, Fiona, I had an opportunity to work with her. I have a small but significant part in the movie. And the last, I'm her doctor. So she's all drugged out, and I I give her Suboxone. I remember the word. I like that. So it's the last day of shooting, and I went over there, and she was already in the area where they do the makeup. And I walked in and wanted to, greet her. Hi, how are you? I'm really excited about being able to work with you. I tried to be gracious, tried to be suave, all that. And so I wanted to say something to the effect of, it's going to take a lot of makeup to make you look like a heroin addict. But I got a little tongue-tied, so it more like came out, without your makeup, you really do look like a heroin addict. So I apologize, but I don't do that anymore. I just say, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Leave it at that.